Are the New York Knicks in trouble? The New York Knicks are coming off their worst loss of the season against the short-handed Sixers, where they were only able to put up 73 points. And after that performance, and after some of their other recent performances, a lot of fans are starting to get a little bit concerned about this New York Knicks team. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports. I make opinionated NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. I also want to quickly mention that I recently started up an MMA channel, and if you guys are interested in that, the link will be in the description. But anyways, let's get into it. After years of misery, as soon as the New York Knicks acquired Jalen Brunson, he completely turned things around for New York. As last year, the Knicks were able to have a pretty successful season during the regular year, and also in the playoffs. Of course, they had the most success they've had since 2013. And fast forwarding to this season, although the Knicks didn't make significant changes, a lot of people were excited to see what they can do. And especially when the Knicks were able to acquire OG Anunoby, as well as some other guys like Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks, a lot of fans, including myself, started to become extremely excited about what the Knicks could potentially do this season. And originally in the first month that the Knicks acquired OG, things were looking extremely good, as the Knicks ended up having a 14-2 record in the first month that OG came to New York, and fans were starting to think that this team could legitimately compete for an NBA championship. When going into this season, although that was the hope, I wouldn't say the majority of the fans thought that was a real possibility. But unfortunately, after all that success, the Knicks were hit with the injury bug, as both OG Anunoby and Julius Randle ended up going down with significant injuries. Julius Randle ended up having a dislocated shoulder that's kept him out for some time. OG Anunoby also went down with a pretty significant injury that required surgery. And even besides those guys, both Isaiah Hartenstein and Jalen Brunson even went down with injuries. And although both Hartenstein and Brunson are back, it's pretty clear the Knicks are not complete without Julius Randle and OG Anunoby, and we've seen a significant effect of those injuries. Well, a question that some of you may be wondering at this point is why? Why are the New York Knicks struggling so much at this point when earlier on in the season they were having so much success? Well, obviously the first and main reason has to be injuries. Although it is a little bit concerning that the Knicks aren't playing well whatsoever, you do at the same time need to understand that they are without both OG Anunoby and Julius Randle, which are two humongous parts of their offense and really of their defense when you talk about OG Anunoby. And when you look at how the Knicks have been playing as of late, they've clearly been struggling on both ends, to be honest. There's certain games where they play pretty well defensively, but they don't play well offensively, and there's some games where it's a complete opposite of that. But in my opinion, when the Knicks get OG Anunoby back specifically, I think their defense is going to be a lot more consistent. OG did a phenomenal job in the short time that he was playing with the Knicks at playing phenomenal individual defense, but also doing a phenomenal job at helping out defensively and just making everybody else a lot better out there defensively. And even besides that, he helped them significantly on the offensive side because he was a real scoring threat. He could definitely create his own shot, which when you watch the New York Knicks at times, specifically in that most recent game against the Philadelphia 76ers, they didn't really have that secondary guy to go to when Jalen Brunson was struggling offensively. But when OG Anunoby comes back, I do think he's going to be that guy that helps out Jalen Brunson in situations where maybe he's getting doubled, or in situations where maybe he's struggling a little bit in a certain game, and he's going to help out significantly offensively. But even besides that, he does a great job at spreading out the floor, so if Brunson does get doubled, he can get a lot of wide open looks for OG, and of course OG is shooting around 40% from 3, so he's going to hit a lot of those shots that he's getting. But even besides that, when the Knicks also get back Julius Randle, he's going to help out significantly on the offensive side of the court. When you're talking about Julius Randle, although there are some issues with his game, of course, that I've mentioned extensively on my channel, at the end of the day, this guy is a 25 point per game scorer, and losing that obviously is going to hurt. But when the Knicks do regain Julius Randle to their lineup, hopefully before the playoffs do start, I do think that's going to play a significant factor. Of course, it's going to take a lot of pressure off Jalen Brunson. Of course, it's going to get a lot more open looks for other guys like Dante DiVincenzo and some other guys in this roster as well, and I just think it's going to be a huge positive effect for the Knicks when both both of those guys come back to the roster for both offense and defense. But with all that being said, another question that some of you may be wondering at this point is it time to panic with the New York Knicks? Well, in my opinion, I don't necessarily think so. Of course, injuries have definitely played a significant role for how the Knicks have been playing as of late, and I do think when the Knicks get their stars back, they're going to be playing a lot better. Because a lot of those issues that we're seeing right now, like for example, Jalen Brunson just getting doubled or sometimes even triple teamed, when you have OG Anunoby or Julius Randle back, they're going to do a really nice job at making sure teams are not able to do that. Because if they send double or triple teams to Brunson, then they can easily just dish off to Julius or dish off to OG, and either one of those guys can do a really nice job at scoring for themselves and really keeping the defenses honest. Because when you currently look at the roster at this point, besides maybe Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo, the Knicks don't really have a guy that can create their own shot. And even though both of those guys in Hart and DiVincenzo can do so, there are definitely nights where they're a little bit off, like against the Sixers most recently, and they're not able to help Jalen Brunson whatsoever, and at that point the Knicks offense just becomes very stagnant and very difficult to get things going. So when both OG Anunoby and Julius Randle come back, I definitely think they're going to help alleviate a lot of those issues that the Knicks have been having offensively as of late, and of course for OG Anunoby, he's really going to help out their defense as well. And when you look at both of those guys in OG Anunoby and Julius, it seems like they're both going to come back pretty soon. Now it seems like OG is going to come back even sooner. Maybe while you're watching this video, OG has already made his return for the New York Knicks, but regardless of when he does come back, it does seem like it's going to be very soon. And for Julius Randle, it seems also pretty soon, as he has been shooting a little bit pre-game, as he has been working out a little bit more pre-game, and overall it just seems like both of these guys are very close to returning. So at this point, I definitely would say it's not time to panic for this Knicks roster. Although they have been playing a little bit poorly as of late, I do think a lot of those issues that they've been having are pretty temporary, and once they get their guys back, a lot of those issues are definitely going to alleviate themselves. But now, what are my expectations for this Knicks team the rest of the season and in the playoffs? Well, when you look at this Knicks season, it kind of feels like it's been a tale of three different seasons. At the beginning of the year, it seems like the Knicks weren't necessarily playing all that well. They were just playing well enough to keep themselves in the playoffs, but they weren't playing really well, they weren't playing really poorly, they were kind of just a middle of the road team. But ever since the Knicks traded for OG Anunoby, they started to play extremely well. As I mentioned, the month of January ended up being their best month of the season so far. They were playing extremely well both offensively and defensively, and after that month was over, it seemed like the New York Knicks were legit. It seemed like not only were they true contenders in the playoffs, but they could potentially make it to the NBA Finals. But ever since OG Anunoby and Julius Randle ended up going down with injuries, it seems like the New York Knicks once again were playing pretty poorly, and they were playing even worse than they were playing early on in the season. But in my opinion, with all that being said, assuming that both of those guys do return from injury this season, I do think the Knicks are probably going to end the season out pretty well, and once it comes down to playoff time, I do think they could actually make a pretty deep playoff run. But I guess only time will tell what does end up happening for this Knicks roster. But I will say I am extremely excited to see what does. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think the New York Knicks are in trouble, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these two videos popping up now, and until the next time, peace out guys.